We've got to raise the bar, and we've got to continue to raise the bar. I don't think any of those young men, when they signed to come to Tennessee, they signed to say they wanted to come and be a part of a 7-6 program. They said they wanted to come and compete for championships, SEC championships, national championships. I know that's what I want. I know that's what Tennessee wants. I know that's what the expectation is. So we've got to continue to reassess everything that we're doing and make sure that we're continuing to move the needle in the right direction.
Down in the Tennessee hills, ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bills.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
And I am Gabriel.
It's Halloween. Did you realize it was Halloween? Man, I was expecting mixed emotions from the chat on that clip, but people asked me on Twitter to play it. I like it. I like it. I don't get the vibe that you liked it.
I mean, you know, I don't know. As I like it fine. I don't have a problem with it. I think just as like, I don't know. That's fine.
Crazy no, this intro keeps getting longer and longer. I told Gabe, I said, you got time, man. It's going to be a minute before we get on here. You guys wanted that song, so I thought I would play it. It's like 2 minutes long. But, hey, the organist has to play the music and let the people file in for church service.
It's very, very powerful. It's very, very, it hits the ears very hard.
Matt Falk liked it, says this is kind of fire. Lonnie Alval Williams in the house. What's up, Lonnie? Lonnie's an OG, man. Lonnie's been around forever. Lonnie's a dude that shot a deer off of his back deck while we were live one night. And then he gave us play-by-play as he went and tracked the deer in the woods. What an epic moment of the Talkin VAWLS network history. Robert Nolan in the house. Love the show. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate it. Who else we got in here? Devin Hayes says got goosebumps, so he liked the intro as well. Dakota's in the house. What is up? Why is he? They're already here insulting you, Gabriel. They're already insulting you.
That's just Dakota, though.
Oh yeah, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. The Real Hank says, "Where did you get that clip?" It was somewhere on Twitter. If you go follow me on Twitter, Yeah, it's somebody on TikTok made it, but it made its way to Twitter, and I've retweeted it. If you follow me on Twitter, you can go there and find it. Randall Davenport in the house. What's up, Randall? Kelly Goodwin is here. Austin Anderson is here, says the blood pressure is up now as well. Glad you guys dug it. This is the morning show 2.0. You guys seem to like these morning shows, so we're going to continue to bring as many as we want, as we can. Man, I feel like I've been live too long this week. John Hill for 10, thank you for the super chat. We can start the show now here. Kitty, time to get spanked. Go Big Orange. As this week plays out, and it's kind of weird, man. I was listening to Uncle Lou. Wayne, I don't know if Wayne's in the chat yet. Wayne sent me a link and said, hey, Uncle Lou was on this Florida show. Very cool, casual, did a great job. As we lean towards heading into Georgia week. But I was thinking listening to him and listening to them talk about, because they mentioned Tennessee some. Sometimes it gets lost on me that we're sitting here undefeated and looking at a possible showdown with Georgia next week, undefeated, number 1 versus number 3. And, I know we talk about it, and we mentioned the college football playoff, and we mentioned Atlanta and all this stuff. Sometimes I sit back and say, man, look where we are at, the potential matchups coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy. And keep in mind that the playoff rankings come out on November 1st. So they come out a few days before our Georgia game, and there's a strong case to say that Tennessee may end up being ranked number 1 in the college football playoff rankings because of how strong their schedule is and their resume. So we could be potentially looking at a 1-2 matchup. I don't know exactly what that'll end up looking like, but that'll be something to watch out for, and that would be crazy. Watching a number 1 or number 2 Tennessee take on a number 1 or number 2 Georgia in Athens. That is a massive game. But yeah, like I've said a couple times, it really does. You have to take a step back every once in a while and just think, wait a second, this team is 7-0 right now. Tennessee is 7 wins and 0 losses in football. And there are 12 games in the regular season. That means that we are over halfway through the season and have not lost a game. And that is like, I'm explaining the simple crap, but like that's how crazy it is that we're yeah. So it expectations were this high, and that just speaks to this team and the incredible things that the administration has done, the staff has done, and then the players have done. So, man, I'm excited to look forward to these games. I'm more into Tennessee football now than I think I've ever been, and it's just it's so fun.
And it's Tennessee's for real, man. And that's what we're going to talk about the Kentucky game. We're going to dive into some of the matchups of that game a little bit more in-depth than we did last night. Last night was a fun show. And if you guys missed it, I encourage you to go back and check it out. Ben McKee does great work. And having him come on and break down the game in depth, did a great job. And then we had Big Vol Daddy came on last night. JP was back. And we talked just about this program as a whole. And all 4 of us on the show last night, old school fans, and kind of talking about the pride for Tennessee to be back where they are. And they're for real. And as we start to kind of change gears here and jump into this Kentucky game, that's why the more I look at this, I just don't see this being a ball game. And I swear, I think a lot of it is that game from last year, that shootout. And, 45-42, down to the wire. Levis throws for almost 400 yards, whatever it was. I think he had 3 touchdowns. I just don't see that happening this year. I think Tennessee, not only did they take a step forward, they took a huge step forward, whereas I feel like Kentucky from last year to this year has taken a step backwards. And I know their running back, Rodriguez, they didn't have him the first 4 weeks. They've got him back. I disagree with everybody in the media. I continue to sit, and Eric's one of them. Eric Kane's one of them. And I listen to him, and I'm like, I disagree. A lot of people are saying that Kentucky's going to try to run the football. That I agree with. They say they're going to continue to try to run the football and be committed to trying to run the football. I see it completely different. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football. I can throw the numbers at you. We've thrown them out all week long where Tennessee's run defense ranks. I just don't see Kentucky being able to run the football, and I think that Tennessee's for real, and I don't see Kentucky keeping up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think, there are a lot of those people that, because it's been close the past couple of years, but this isn't the same Tennessee team from the past couple of years, and this is not the same Kentucky team from the last couple of years. They lost a lot on the offensive line. They lost some skill position guys. I mean, are not, these aren't the same teams, and that's what I said a few days ago is, a lot of people, I think, are acting like this is just a rematch between last year's Kentucky team and last year's Tennessee team. This is an evolved Tennessee team and arguably a devolved Kentucky team, like you just said. I don't think I don't think they can keep up. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball. I mean, if they try and, I really think it's going to be a case of if they try and run, they're not getting anywhere. And if they try and pass, we're just going to be getting after Will Levis, forcing him to make bad throws or putting him on the ground. Not that he's not going to make a few, because he is an athlete, but I just don't think Kentucky has. They don't have the pieces. They don't have the pieces to keep up. I don't think they have the pieces to out physical Tennessee, even on the defensive side. I just don't think they have those pieces. And a lot of people are saying that there's a good chance Kentucky dictates the tempo. I don't think they can. I don't think they're capable of out physical of being more physical than Tennessee so much that Kentucky could dictate the tempo of this game. I just don't think. I mean, unless Tennessee, it would take Tennessee playing a bad game. It would be more about Tennessee than Kentucky. If Tennessee turns in an all-time bad performance, then Kentucky has a chance. If Tennessee goes out there and plays their game, Kentucky is getting ran all over, period. That's just
And time of possession doesn't matter. Like, Kentucky can keep the ball all day long if they want. And guess what? Hendon Hooker can come out and run 3 plays and go put 6 on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. If you can't stop Tennessee, it doesn't matter. And if, let's say they do have success. Let's say Kentucky comes out, they have success running the football, moving the chains, eating up the clock. I think if it is a close game, it's that middle 8 that we talk about a lot is going to be crucial. Who gets the ball to start the second half, and can they capitalize if it is a deal where Kentucky's moving the ball and scoring and Tennessee's responding, but then Kentucky comes right back out and grinds it out. Going to be very interesting to see how that middle 8 plays out if that's the case. Somebody in the chat said, Boogie, going to need you guys to talk for 6 hours today to get me through my work day. Well, let me tell you something. There is one way that you can keep me and Gabe on the internet for 6 hours all day long, and that is these right here. Mountain Doom with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Mountain Doom. Says Tennessee 52, Kentucky 24. That's a little more than I think, but I don't doubt that. I see that as a very possible score. And before we get out of here, don't let me forget, Gabe, at the end to get your official prediction as well. Don't let me forget that. The Real Hank for 2. Boogie, did you see we landed that lockdown corner? Was he talking about Beasley?
I suppose so. That's the only corner we've landed recently.
Yeah, yep. Put a video out the night he committed. Wasn't a real surprise, but hey, that's a gamer, that's a baller, and that's a position of need as well. Thank you, Real Hank. Lonnie Allval Williams for 10 says, "Go big, damn orange. I want that hoodie, Boogie." I'm not giving away a hoodie right now, but I did. Last night I made the decision. You guys didn't quite get it done. I wanted to get to 1,000 live viewers. We didn't get there, but you guys shared out the link quite a bit. We grew the chat, so I put a tweet out. So if you follow us on Twitter, you can see that tweet. All you got to do is like and retweet it, comment your score, and make sure you're following the Talkin VAWLS account on Twitter. Somebody's going to win a Kentucky's Daddy shirt later today. But thank you for the super chat, Lonnie. We'll continue to we give away free merch all the time because you guys, it's a way that we give back. A lot of times we don't make money on merch because we just give it right back to you guys in free merchandise. We do have about 230 people watching live right now. Smash that thumbs up. That's one thing you can do that's quick, free, and easy, and we would appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about Mark Stoops. You mentioned his press conference, and I was going to pull it up. And then I looked at it, and it was 26 minutes. And I said, if we watch this and we pause it to talk, we're going to be live for about 3 hours. 3 hours. So just summarize it. Talk about, what you talked a little bit about the fear in Mark Stoops. Talk about his mindset, some of the things he said.
Well, his attitude was just of almost like scared reverence for Tennessee and how they know they're playing the number 3 team and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the stuff that you probably don't want to be talking about if you're the head coach of an SEC football team, right? Like, the way it's a complete opposite from the way this coaching staff approaches games of every week is the same. We prepare the same way, and maybe Kentucky prepares the same way, but based on what he was saying, he seemed, I mean, even their offensive coordinator said that they're not going to go out there and score 50 points. So I think there's a consensus or a mindset among this coaching staff that they are not just going to be able to win this game as they are. The way they are, the way their scheme is, the people they have, the players they have. In the words of Brian Kelly might say, we just don't have the guys. I think that's sort of their mindset. Even though they have some talented players, I think they are aware of the fact that Tennessee is just on another level. He seemed like, I mean, from his mindset, I think he's going to be coaching like we saw Billy Napier coach. Just absolutely just, pedal to the floor, go for it on every fourth down, ultra aggressive, that sort of coaching style, because I don't think they can win otherwise. Again, he just went on and on and on about how, good Tennessee is and how they're the number 3 team and blah, 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 and all this and that. And it seems painfully obvious that he is scared. He is scared of Tennessee. And I think he's going to coach accordingly. So that's a little preview into how, what we can expect from them, because Kentucky's going to come out and they're going to play their style of ball, of course, but they're going to play aggressive still. I think they're going to go for it on fourths. I think they're going to do the same sort of thing we saw Billy Napier do from a coaching standpoint, and just throw out all the stops out of desperation, because I don't think they match. I mean, they see what everyone else sees, and that's that Kentucky matches up really poorly with Tennessee. They match up really poorly.
Do you think that's something that's gotten out of hand? And we saw it with Brian Kelly. Of course, you see it with Lane Kiffin. Even Josh Heupel does it a lot. I think he's more calculated when it comes to going for it on fourth down. It's a lot about field position. And, they talk about analytics and data and the charts and graphs and all this stuff. And Josh Heupel's talked about it before and said sometimes you got to throw the chart out the window and go with gut feeling. Right. But you just see a lot of teams, and man, you're just putting so much on the line. And we saw it with Brian Kelly. You go for it on fourth and short in your own territory and give Tennessee the football back. They're not going to waste time. And Tennessee's going to take shots. And that's the beauty of it, man. The everything has been flipped on its head. Nobody has been scared of Tennessee in a long, long time. And now you've got coaches coming in. Brian Kelly, a guy with experience. Coach Stoops, a guy with experience, coming in, coaching scared. And sometimes I'm like, are they really coaching scared? Because when Heupel does it, I'm like, man, he's got balls. He's aggressive. I love it. But when Brian Kelly does it, I'm like, he's a coward. He's scared. I think there's a difference in, again, that gut feeling.
Right.
That gut feeling.
Well, it's a difference between being a leg up and a leg down. Like, when Tennessee goes for it on fourth down, it feels like they're a leg up. It feels like Tennessee almost plays 4-down football sometimes, right? Because they'll run on first down, pass on second down, might be incomplete, run on third down, okay, it's 4th and 2, we're huddling up to the line, going for it real quick, we got it.
Yeah, if it's 3rd and 8 and they run the football, they're going for it on fourth down.
Exactly. So, but when other teams do it, when teams like LSU do it, when teams like Florida do it, when teams like Kentucky do it, we know that it's because they don't think they can win otherwise. Especially once we get, however many points up on LSU that we did, they can't win if they don't be aggressive and try and finish these drives out. Florida, that we let them convert on a lot of those fourth downs, and that's the only reason that game was even partially as close as it was, because that they were aggressive and we let them convert those fourth downs. If Florida made one fourth down that whole game, it probably would have been a 20-something point game. To be real. And we saw improvement after that. But yeah, when Tennessee goes for it on fourth down, it feels like a leg up. It feels like we're being aggressive because we know we can't. The other team can't stop us. If we're gaining, 3 yards of play, 3-3-3-3, that's a first down. So I think that's the difference between other teams going for it on fourth and us going for it on fourth.
We catch up on a couple of super chats real quick. You guys wanting us to stay live for 6 hours? Keep them coming. We'll keep talking. We can talk Tennessee football all day. I feel like that's all we do anyway. Why not do it online with 274 of our closest friends? Make sure you guys do hit that thumbs up. Dylan Elam for 5. I feel like this game is going to be a lot like Missouri game last year. We call it a toss-up, then we go out there and boat race them. We blitz, we win. That's a good point because that is – I keep looking at this game, and that's exactly what it feels like. And even the South Carolina game coming up. Kentucky and South Carolina were 2 games in the preseason that scared me. I thought they were both toss-ups, and Tennessee would have to go out and compete. And now the closer we get, and, again, Eric talked about this on Locked On Vols, the appearance I'm going to have on there tomorrow morning. He talked about we know way more about Kentucky than we knew at the beginning of the season. It's the same with South Carolina. We know more about them now, and I just like the way Tennessee matches up. And I agree with what Dylan says there. I think Tennessee very capable of coming out and starting fast, and that's how I see this game playing out. I see Tennessee starting fast, Kentucky getting behind, and then Levis has to throw it 30 or 40 times. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you could say that's kind of how last year went a little bit as far as their fast start. I don't even think we need to get off to a first play touchdown type of fast start. I think we because again, like I said, this Tennessee team is much more balanced than it was last year. We only had like 15 and a half minutes of possession in the football game last year against Kentucky, and we still put up 45 points on them. So I think Tennessee's still probably going to have at least 20 minutes of possession in this game. But yeah, I mean, I think that, again, Will Levis doesn't have a lot of the skill position guys that he had last year. He doesn't have the offensive line that he had last year. We have a much better defensive line game than we had last year. So if they get behind, this is not going to look like last year. This just isn't. If they get behind, Will Levis is not going to have time to stand back there and make throws. He just isn't. I mean, he's going to be able to hit a couple, but he is not just going to be able to stand down back there and make those types of throws to come back, especially not against this Tennessee offense that is number 1 in the nation in points per game and yards per game. So, if Tennessee gets ahead, I mean, it's just over with for Kentucky, and I think the same way. I think it's just it's not gonna be close. I know a lot of people are nervous about this game. It was viewed preseason as a toss-up throughout the season. We were thinking, man, Kentucky really does look pretty good. They only lost by 3 to Ole Miss, who just got exposed by LSU, who we beat by 27 points. So I know it all plays out on the football field, and we'll find out. But man, I mean, when you really look at it from an X's and O's standpoint, and even from a talent standpoint, it's just Kentucky's not going to be able to dictate anything in this game, and it's just not going to be close. It's just not. Even if it's close for one quarter, Tennessee is just going to be able to just extend Kentucky too far, and we're going to win, absolutely.
And that's the beauty again. Tennessee feels like they are in control of everything. Like you said, dictate. Tennessee is going to dictate the style of play. And Wayne with a good point there saying that he thinks Kentucky's going to drop 8 and keep everything in front of them. And that's fine because when you do that, Tennessee's going to make you pay with the run game. And, you know, we talked about last week the running backs' lack of success against Tennessee Martin. You're going to see a whole lot of Hendon Hooker. There's going to be a whole lot more read option. They do it in every big game. You know, we go into those little games, the Ball States, the Akrons, and Tennessee running backs don't play as physical maybe as you want or just as good as you want. Their average per carry is always a little bit down. But that's because I feel like this run game really opens up when you start getting Hendon Hooker involved. That's when you see this offense thrive. So if they drop 8, I think Tennessee's going to run it down their throat. On the flip side of that, if Tennessee stops the run and Kentucky has to pass, can they protect Will Levis? It's all dictated by Tennessee, and that goes back to other teams being scared of Tennessee, Tennessee being legit because they're in control of the style of play. Got a couple more super chats here. I don't know how to say that. Oh, be ready. Oh, be ready, Vols. Oh, be ready. That's the way I'm going to say it. For $20, that ain't cheap. Thank you for the super chat. It says 38-21 Tennessee. That's pretty close to what I had. What did I say? I think I said 42-21. I think is my prediction. Thank you for the super chat. Very, very generous. Apparently wants us to stay live for 6 hours. They keep dropping the super chats. We'll keep talking Tennessee football. Bionic Clay for 10. Thank you for the super chat. As long as our D keeps him out of the end zone early and forces field goals, the overrated Levis will make mistakes, and Hooker won't. Vols pull away in the second half and win 42-20. That's the thing about Will Levis. He will make mistakes. It's more when the game's on the line, he cracks under pressure. We've seen it time and time and time again, whether it's an interception, a fumble. He always chokes under pressure. He's thrown 5 interceptions on the season. He's thrown more interceptions in the first half of this season than Hendon Hooker has thrown in his 2 years at Tennessee. Will Levis will make mistakes if the game's on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's what I've been saying is, Will Levis he's an athlete. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's a decent quarterback. But he just can't put the team on his back when it's clutch time. He just can't do that. He's not, and maybe it's just because of the weapons around him. I don't know, but he's just not going to be capable of putting up the points he needs to put up. I think that is the key, like Bionic Clay said, keeping them out of the end zone. That is why I believe we could potentially hold them to 10 points, is because I think that we have a really good chance to keep them out of the end zone. This is a defense that's bend don't break. They're a team that's given up quite a lot of yards, but not that many points. Other than Alabama, of course, but that's because Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs were on the other side, so you kind of expect that. We gave up 13 against LSU, so I think that we will be capable of keeping them out of the end zone. I think that is like you said. I think that's the key. There's just Kentucky just. It takes a lot to convince. It's taking a lot to convince a lot of people, a lot of Tennessee fans, that Kentucky is just not. It's just not good enough to keep up with Tennessee. I understand how it could be a close game. I mean, Tennessee is favored by 2 scores for a reason. That's a large line. That is a large line. So I don't know. What else can you really say? I mean, that the matchups just aren't there for Kentucky, and we can dive into the matchups actually if you want to, just comparisons and stuff. Yeah,
we're going to jump into different position groups and matchups. I think some of it is battered Vol syndrome. A lot of people look at that game from last year, right? 45-42. It's a shootout. I think Kentucky was ranked going into that game. Maybe I'm wrong. I believe they were ranked last year. Yeah.
Yes, they were ranked. I believe. What are they ranked this year? 19?
Yeah.
Weren't they ranked? They were ranked 18 or 19 last year, weren't they?
I remember they were ranked, and because again, we're going in. It's Kentucky, and we're acting scared of Kentucky when we sell shirts that literally say Kentucky's daddy. That is there for a reason. That is there. The streak. Tennessee won 42-0 in 1985. They didn't lose again until 2011. They lost 10-7. They have beaten Tennessee. Kentucky has beaten Tennessee 5 times in my entire life. I'm 41 years old. They've beaten them 5 times in my entire life. There is a reason. Battered Vol syndrome is a real thing. But look, hey, like I said, we sell a Kentucky's Daddy shirt for a reason. And you can pick that up. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Now's the time to pick up that shirt. But we've also got the scoreboard shirts from the Alabama game, 52-49 with the cigar on it. It's just business, the quote from Henry To'oTo'o. We've also got Vols by Fitty, the State Pride merch. Everything's there. Mustard-themed shirts for those of you that want to rep that. Different styles, designs, colors. You can kind of customize each shirt however you want it to look. But again, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You see, beat Bama, beat Georgia, beat Florida, but we don't beat Kentucky. We own them. So there's the Kentucky's Daddy shirt. Go check it out. Pick it up. T-shirt, hoodies, long sleeve T-shirts, crew neck sweatshirts, tank tops. That little women's jersey there is a cool design. But again, go check them out. The link's in the description below as well. Bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Let me hit these couple of super chats real quick, and then we're going to dive into these matchups. We're going to kind of go position by position and talk about it, and we'll get your guys' comments along the way. You guys always drive the show. We have a plan that we're going to come on here and talk about something specific, and then if you guys derail us with Super Chats, we'll take that Super Chat, and we'll run with that conversation, then come back to the matchups. An orange sea lion for $5. Thank you for the Super Chat. Man, I can't unsee that profile picture now on orange sea lion. Now that I finally got that it's sea lion, every time I see that big, goofy orange sea lion smiling at me. Did he just add that? Like, is that new or is that old? I don't remember seeing that
I have
previously.
no idea. I have no clue.
Once he corrected me, now that's all I see. He says, I was told UK style was, I can't read when they do this, but I was told UK style was better for reading defenses. At least that's what their joke of an OC said, comparing Hooker to Levis. There is no comparison between Hooker to Will Levis. We'll compare them, though, here in just a second. Thank you, Orange Sea Line. Bobby Macklin becomes a member of the channel. We appreciate that. You've got custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, access to fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun stuff. Thank you for that, Bobby. Redneck Dwarf for $20. That ain't cheap. Miami, Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois had 5, 4, and 4 sacks respectively on Kentucky. 13 sacks total from defenses that are well below ours. Might be a long night for Will Levis. Well, let's start the position, kind of some of the comparisons now with that's a very generous super chat from Redneck Dwarf. So let's just start there. Let's start with the defensive line because that is something, Tennessee's done a better job getting to the quarterback this year than they have in we had some concerns early in the year. But as you see the game against Pitt, getting after the quarterback. I think they've done a good job. And when you look at the numbers, when you pull up the numbers, we called BY out going into the year. We're a little over halfway in. He's got 3.5 sacks. Elijah Herron has a couple of sacks. Bryson Eason. But it's not always about getting home and getting a sack as much as it is pressure, hitting the quarterback. And I don't have the number in front of me. Tennessee's pretty high in the country at pressure percentage.
They're for
and
sure
that
number one in the
play.
SEC.
Yeah, they're way up there. And then to go along with what he's saying there, Will Levis has been sacked 20 times. Now and he's missed. He missed an entire game with the injury, but he's still been sacked 20 times. So when you look at the line of scrimmage matchup, I just think offensive line, defensive line, Tennessee has the advantage in both. That's the way I see it.
Well, in South Carolina, they sacked the backup quarterback 6 times. So that's the same offensive line that blocks for Will Levis. So Will Levis is just a little bit better at getting, throwing it away, or 1 or 2 sacks better, I guess. But this Tennessee defensive line, they are the best way to describe them is disruptive. They disrupt the game. They get in the backfield, they force throws, they get the pressure on the quarterback. And yeah, if Tennessee got home, half as much more as they do now. They would probably be leading the SEC in sacks right now because they live in the backfield for most teams. So I'm excited to see how they Kentucky's O-line, it's just not that developed yet. It's just not that good. So I'd love to see our fast guys get out there on the D line, our Leo linebackers put the heat on Will Levis. I just don't think they can block our guys. I feel like there's almost always going to be one guy loose. Whether it's Josh Josephs or BY or I don't know, or Omari Thomas coming through the middle. I think the defensive line is going to have a field day. Even if it doesn't show up in the sack column, they're going to put big pressure on Will Levis and force him to make some bad throws. So defensively for Kentucky, their defensive line is like pretty good. I'm not sure of any particular players that might be a threat, but Kentucky's defensive line is not bad by any stretch. But you compare it to our offensive line, which is probably the most improved group from last season to this season, and even from the beginning of this season to now, our offensive line looks really good. This is an offensive line that has been dominating the opponents on the other side of the ball, including Dallas Turner and Will Anderson for Alabama. So despite Kentucky not having a bad defensive line at all, our offensive line, I still think, has the advantage in the run game and in the pass game. Not to say Kentucky isn't going to get any pressure. I'm sure they will get some pressure. Hopefully, we don't see Hendon. We've seen Hendon take a couple sacks by just kind of like standing there and not really feeling the pressure. But I do think that Tennessee has an advantage on both sides of the line. So.
And when you look statistically, and talking about Tennessee's offensive line going into the year, that was a talking point. A lot of people were concerned. This Tennessee offensive line is not very good, and the big thing that I was trying to drive home was if Glenn Ellerbe is going to be successful at Tennessee, this offensive line better take a step. When you return 4 out of 5 starters, I don't care if they were absolute trash the previous season, you need to see that group take a step. And we've definitely seen that group take a step. Hendon Hooker's only been sacked 10 times. When you look at numbers-wise for Kentucky's defensive line, there is not a player on their team that has registered more than 1 sack. That's it, more than 1 sack on the year. And when you go down the line, got it sorted here. There's a defensive back with a sack, linebacker, defensive back. They have 1 defensive lineman with a sack and 1 defensive lineman with a half a sack. So I like Tennessee's offensive line in that matchup. And then on the flip side, I like Tennessee's defensive line as well. Let me get caught up on Super Chats. We'll continue to break down this matchup. Drew Shorter for 5 negative Super Chat. Our defensive front better bring their tent and some marshmallows because they are about to set up camp in that backfield. Yes, sir. I like it. And I saw Wayne put in the chat talking about, Alabama. Who has a better offensive line, Alabama or Kentucky? And Tennessee if it was not for the escapability of Bryce Young, Tennessee, they beat him up all day. It blew my mind that he was able to stay in the game at some points. Knoxville Predator catcher for 2. Kentucky scores 20 in the 4th with our 3rd stringers in. Sign me up for that, Knoxville Predator catcher. Bobby Macklin for $20. That ain't cheap. Doesn't even say anything. Just says, here's a tip. We talk about the intro and it being 5 minutes long. Organist playing the music so everybody can file in for church service. Bobby's just putting his offering in the offering plate. So we appreciate that, Bobby. Thank you for Super Chat. Knoxville Predator catcher with another 5. Kentucky goes O.J. Simpson Bronco fast. They can't play catch up if we get up early. Yeah, that's the way I see this entire game playing out. Tennessee gets up early. Kentucky can never catch back up. Papa T in SC. What's up, my man? $20 Super Chat says, we'll whoop that. Kentucky can't compete with us. 8-0 we will be. Tennessee 55, Kentucky 23. A lot of these predictions and score predictions that come in, there's a lot of Kentucky in the 20 range. And Tennessee is ranging in some of these predictions in the 30s up to the 50s. And that's the thing when you look at it. And again, you talked about it a little bit earlier, Tennessee favored by 2 scores. ESPN FPI has Tennessee, it's like 80-something%. I can't remember the exact number. Everything indicates Tennessee is going to win this football game and should win this football game. But when you look at the score predictions, and if I asked you, I said, Gabe, can Tennessee score 50 points? Yes or no?
I'd say, yeah, probably.
Can Kentucky score 50 points?
No way in the world.
So that tells me all I need to know about this matchup. Let's see. Let me hit a couple more real quick. Bionic Clay for 10. Our line on both sides of the ball is better than UK's. We will control the line of scrimmage. I agree. I agree. Now, maybe we'll have a different conversation going into that Georgia game, maybe, but that's where you like this coaching staff to come up with something schematically to take advantage. They're going to take advantage of mismatches that are in our favor, and they're going to find a way to work around mismatches that are in the other team's favor. Fido Productions for 10. Georgia versus Tennessee is going to show what wins championships, offense or defense. Living in Georgia, I have friends that say Tennessee won't even score more than 20 points. I find it comedic. What do you say to that, Gabe? Because I think college football has changed. Defense no longer wins championships. It's all about offense. It's all about the quarterback position. If you don't have a quarterback, you're sunk. You are done. Right. You're not going to go win an SEC championship. Yes, defense is an important part of the game. You have to be able to get stops. But to me, in 2022, it's all about offense.
Well, and I agree that Georgia has the best defense in college football, arguably. I think they have a really, really elite defense. I still think Tennessee can score more than 20 points for sure. I think Tennessee I think Tennessee can put up 40 on anybody. I don't know. I kind of, I do think that the game is changing. We're going to see, I guess we'll see by the end of the season whether or not defense or offense does win championships, or especially next week. That is going to tell us, because when you meet that insanely high octane offense with this just crazy defense, then I mean, we're going to see what happens. But I mean, I like Tennessee's offense against anybody, especially because Georgia's offense isn't great. They've been okay. They've been pretty good. They're just sort of hit or miss. So, I mean, yeah, I think if you have an offense like Tennessee's, then yeah, offense wins championships. When you have a defense like Georgia's, you'd probably be more inclined to say defense wins championships because, you know, the teams that Georgia play, there aren't a lot of offenses like Tennessee in college football right now. There just aren't.
Who do you think has more talent, top to bottom, more depth, Tennessee or Georgia?
Georgia.
Who can Tennessee win that football game?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that is because of the offense. Like if Tennessee with their roster had an elite level defense, I don't know that we would be sitting here at 7-0. You know what I mean? I just feel like having that elite offense that can go score 50 points on anybody. I mean, if you can score 52 on Alabama in regulation, you can score 50 points on anybody in the country. And
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, it was just a perfect hire. It was a picture-perfect hire to bring Heupel in and this offense being fun to watch. Like, there are the only games that are boring anymore are because they're scoring 52 points in the first half against UT Martin. And it's like, man, let's just get this over and go live because it's getting boring. Yeah. But this is a fun football team to watch. Josh Heupel was the perfect hire. Fido Productions with another 10, wearing my Buck Fama shirt this weekend to the in-laws barbecue. Wife's family lives in Alabama and are all diehard Bama fans. Love it, Fido Productions. Thanks for picking one of those up. They were limited edition, no longer available, but you can go get that scoreboard shirt. We'll leave it up. That one will stay up for a while. I don't want to talk about quarterbacks yet. We've already kind of touched on it. Maybe we don't even talk about it, but we talked about it a lot. But one of the talking points this week is the fact that Cedric Tillman is back. Cedric Tillman should be back. I don't think it's not going to be made official. I don't know how many snaps he will play. I just don't see, again, I don't see Kentucky's secondary being able – I don't think anybody in the country can cover these wide receivers, especially when Cedric Tillman is back. When you look at yards allowed for Kentucky, pretty stingy on defense. They give up 178.3 yards per game through the air, 117 rushing yards per game. And, you know, I think a big part of that is, again, we can tell whatever story we want to tell with statistics and numbers. That's the way it works. You could go write an article right now and talk about how elite Kentucky's defense is. I could write an article and spin it about how all they do is utilize the clock and run down the clock and milk the clock, and that's why their defense is successful. But when you look at Tennessee's receivers, this is a fun little stat that I got directly from the VolQuest podcast this morning. I was listening to it while I was getting set up. Tennessee has 9,000-yard receivers in the history of the program. Now, we're talking about a program we used to call Wide Receiver U. They have 9 1,000-yard receivers. One of those was Cedric Tillman last year. And they are very likely, very, very likely to add another one this year with Jalen Hyatt. He already has 769 yards. So, you know, injuries happen. Who knows? Things can happen, but he is trending towards 1,000 yards. So that would be 10 1,000-yard receivers in the history of the program, and 2 of them coming in the first 2 seasons of Josh Heupel coaching at Tennessee. Nobody can cover these receivers. I know that's a lot of information. Kind of take it and run with it. Talk about these wide receivers. Cedric Tillman coming back. How many snaps does Ramel Keaton get? Can they cover Jalen Hyatt? And go.
Well, I think if Cedric Tillman is going to be in the game, he's going to play arguably every offensive snap because that's how this coaching staff rolls. They don't really rotate wide receivers unless one has to come out for some reason. We asked early on in the season, why is it just the 3? You know, but that's the way they play the game. They have their 3 guys that they stick with, and those are the guys that are in. They might bring in a couple guys for a play or two, but if Cedric Tillman isn't healthy enough to play every snap, I don't even think he plays. I think he should, and I think he should be healthy enough by this point to play every snap. I think they're staying coy on whether or not he's coming back just for the sake of, you know, Kentucky being semi-unprepared for him. But I think for him to you know, be 100% healthy, he has to play every snap. So I don't really think we see Ramel a whole lot if Cedric plays. But if Cedric has to be rotated, he's not going to be playing, period. And yeah, about the wide receivers getting open. I mean, it's the athleticism of the guys and it's the scheme of the coach. If Kentucky wants to sit back, and prevent us from the 40-yard shots, then we'll take the 10-yard shots all day long. We'll drive down the field easy. We'll run the ball up their throat and take the easy crossing routes, the hitches, all that stuff. We'll set up the screens. I mean, if they want to play up, we'll take the top off. That's what's so scary about this offense is no matter what the defense does, this coaching staff has an answer, and they've trained the guys to be able to execute that at a very high level. So no matter what Kentucky does defensively, they're not going to be able to cover our wide receivers. They're going to be playing back. Our guys are going to be open, whether or not it's, down 40 yards is up to them. But, we'll take those 10-yard passes, those runs all day long. If that's what Kentucky wants to give us, we'll still put up as many points as this offense wants to, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just the scheme. And I really hope to see Cedric Tillman back. I know there's been but there's been some concern that Cedric Tillman being back will take away from Jalen Hyatt's productivity. I don't really see that as much because, Cedric Tillman being out, we talked about, has maybe helped Hendon to trust the other guys a little more and be able to spread the ball around and kind of force him to look to other areas of the field. Jalen Hyatt is going to be playing the same position that he's been playing. This coaching staff is not stuck in the mud as far as what they do offensively. So, they've seen what Jalen Hyatt can do. Because at the beginning of the season, that's kind of what we were asking is like, why isn't Jalen Hyatt the guy that we're throwing deep to? Because Jalen Hyatt has the speed. He has, and we've seen now how insane of a deep threat he really is. So, now that Cedric is in the game, I still think Jalen is that deep threat out of the slot. I think it makes this offense more dangerous. So I don't know. I don't agree with the idea that it'll take away from Jalen's productivity. I mean, the only way it might do that is just because Hendon has more guys to spread the ball to that are just open all the time. I mean, Ramel was pretty open all the time too, and Jalen still got the statistics that he did. So
That's the guy that's going to see an impact when it comes to productivity is Ramel Keaton. And, this coaching staff, they don't rotate a lot of guys at wide receiver. They kind of – last year they had their 3 guys. This year they had their 3 guys. We've seen what Ramel Keaton can do because Cedric Tillman went down, and that's who I think his snaps are going to get limited. I think they'll find a way to still get Ramel Keaton out there for some plays, and that's the beauty of adding depth. And, I can't wait. They're already rotating a lot of guys on the defensive line. I can't wait to continue to see Rodney Garner recruit and build that defensive line unit. And hopefully we see the benefit of that, like in a game like Kentucky and next week against Georgia, when you've been able to rotate a lot of guys. You were able to rest a lot of guys against UT Martin. The SEC is a physical league, and, guys are going to get beat up. They're going to get banged up. And being able to go into the backstretch of this season with guys healthy and fresh is going to be huge. So it'll be interesting to see if that helps Tennessee in any way. I think is it really a problem? Is it really a problem if Jalen Hyatt's numbers drop off and Cedric Tillman's go up? I don't care. I'm
scoring touchdowns.
This shirt says Vols. It doesn't say Hyatt. And I love Jalen Hyatt, and I love watching him ball out. And that performance against Alabama made him a Tennessee legend. There will be kids born 9 months from that night that will be named Jalen. That's how big of an impact that game was. I mean, you don't remember who balls out against Ball State and Pitt. You remember who does it against Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And Jalen Hyatt's still going to get his, but Cedric's going to get his too. And they're just 2 different types of players. And like you kind of touched on it there, maybe this, help build up that confidence for Hendon Hooker to unleash the ball to Jalen Hyatt. But it's a good problem for us to have. Let me catch up on Super Chats real quick. Bro, regard for 5. Thank you for Super Chat. Balls by 30. At least keep up the good work, Boogie and Gabe. Thank you, my man. Appreciate that Super Chat. Love these morning shows. Love getting on here with Gabe and hanging out, talking football. I was like, man, I don't know if we can go an hour. We're already almost an hour in, but I told you guys, you keep throwing money at us, we keep dancing, and that's what's happening. You guys being very generous today. We appreciate it. Fido Productions for 10. Does our Kentucky win mean enough to put us up to number 2 in the country over Ohio State's Penn State win? I don't think they'll move if Tennessee takes care of business on Saturday, but Gabe brought up a good point. The college football playoff rankings come out next week, and I think Tennessee, I think it's Georgia number 1, Tennessee number 2, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we won't move in the AP, but in the college football playoff, that will matter. That's going to be our 5th ranked win, right? Like our 5th ranked win of the season. Yeah. That's insane. I think, again, like I said, I think it would be really, really hard because college football playoff is supposed to be about resume. That's what it's all about. Yes, it's about team talent, of course, but Tennessee's already number 3. They're top 3 in the country. No other team, the only other team that has as many ranked wins is TCU, but that's Big 12. It's Big 12 wins,
well, Let me throw this super chat as you start to say that. Fido Productions for 10. Thoughts on TCU getting cheated out of getting ranked higher than Alabama? They have the same amount of ranked wins as Tennessee. AP poll is a joke. So just continue that thought, but that goes along with that super chat.
So SEC ranked wins are always going to be more valuable than Big 12 ranked wins. It's just the way that it is. The Big 12 is always crazy. And I think TCU is a really good football team. I think that if Alabama played TCU today, even in TCU Stadium, TCU would get destroyed. They just would. No, that was another game where Alabama really struggled. Like that, Alabama almost lost that game for themselves. It wasn't really as much of Texas as it was Alabama. So I don't think they got cheated out, but it's just like how are you going to rank a newcomer like TCU higher than somebody that's been top 5, top 10 for the past 15 years? It's just not going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. I think that the college football playoff rankings, I think that committee would be remiss not to look at Tennessee's schedule and how they've beaten the teams they've beaten and not rank Tennessee number 1. Tennessee's absolutely going to be number 2. I just think number 1 is just you got to look at it and see like that's the only answer that makes sense. The only reason they'd put Tennessee at number 2 is just because they're scared to put Tennessee at number 1 because it's Tennessee. But yeah, no, I like TCU. I think they're a great football team, but I don't think they're going out and beating Alabama. I just, and again, you say that until they go out and do it, but again, Big 12 versus SEC, it's that whole argument. We all know the answer generally. TCU is the type of team that would win the Big 12 and then enter the playoff and then get blown out by 40 points by either Alabama or Ohio State. So
Fido with another 5 says, my thoughts on our TCU can beat Ohio State and give Clemson a run for their money. Just my opinion. I've not watched a lot of TCU, so I'm glad Gabe had his finger on the pulse. Well, but you're closer to that team. I don't know if you keep your eye on them more because of that.
Oh, what, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm in their city. So it's funny to me that Tennessee and TCU are the only like undefeated teams with 4 ranked wins because I'm a Tennessee fan that's living in TCU country. So I think TCU could beat Clemson because I think Clemson is just horrendously overrated. I need somebody to beat Clemson because if Clemson gets in that playoff instead of somebody like potentially TCU or Tennessee even, then Clemson is just not good. They're just not. They're like Ole Miss levels of overrated. Clemson needs to get exposed and fast, but the problem is the ACC is so bad that nobody else is good enough to expose them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like this comment right there, people out there getting tired of seeing SEC teams and want to see some of their self. Man, it's just the SEC is it. The SEC is the best conference in the country, and there's no question about it. Is Ohio State a great football team? Yes, 100%. Is Clemson good? I think they're good. I don't think they're on Ohio State's level. But what happens when you take those teams and you put them into the SEC? Does Ohio State just run the table and go undefeated? No, I don't think so. Do they still compete with teams like Alabama and Georgia and now Tennessee? Sure they compete. But it's just a different ball game when you got to go through the gauntlet all year long. James Deaton for 2 says TCU and Clemson are overrated. Thank you for super chat, James.
I don't know that TCU is overrated. I mean, I think TCU is kind of fairly fair. I mean, again, they have 4 ranked wins, and even though they are Big 12 wins, like they are wins, and they are 7-0 or 8-0. I can't remember. But TCU is a good. Oh man, this is kind of a fun scenario for me. I just want to throw this out there. If Tennessee doesn't make the playoff for some reason, how fun would it be for a Tennessee TCU bowl game? Is there an SEC Big 12 bowl game? There is, right?
I don't know how. I don't remember. I never can remember all of the times.
Most
Most of them are like Big 10 and
right.
ACC. That's the ones you see all the time.
I hate conference ties with bowl games, but if there is a Big 12 SEC bowl game, I would love to see Tennessee and TCU, because as a Tennessee fan in Fort Worth, that would be so much fun to be able to, just talk smack with TCU fans and, watch the game or whatever. But, I don't know, getting off on on a trail now, but,
that's what the show's all about, though. When the chat wants to talk about something, we'll talk about something. I'm trying to look and see if there's any SEC Big 12. Let's see, the Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tennessee, TCU, and the Sugar Bowl. Sign me up for that. I want to see Tennessee and Clemson, though. That's the game. Yeah, Jay Ward there saying the Sugar Bowl. Crazy Nug says the Cotton Bowl.
If I believe the Cotton Bowl is Big 10 against. Who did I went to the Cotton Bowl a couple years ago. It was Penn State and somebody. I don't remember, but Tennessee would. I'm just saying this right here and now. Tennessee would destroy Clemson,
which is what I want to see. I want to see that. I want to see it. Rick says, sure. See, this is why I get confused, too, because now they rotate all these bowl games as part of the playoff. That causes even more confusion. Fido with another $2. Thank you, Fido. We appreciate it. Being a top contributor today. TCU dog walked Oklahoma. Thank you for the $2, Fido. Another $10 from Fido Productions. I'm here for that Sugar Bowl. That's 120 points combined easily. That sounds like a fun game, fun matchup. Like I said, I've not watched a single TCU game, so I can't sit here and talk about it.
Their offense is pretty high powered. They have a solid quarterback. They've gotten behind in like the past 3 games. They've gotten behind and come back and beaten whatever teams they're playing. So they don't have like a whole awful lot of defense, but they have a really solid offense and some good players. So they sort of flew out from nowhere because they have a new coach and all that. So it would be a fun bowl game to watch. It would be points. It'd be like the Purdue game, except even more points, probably.
Let's circle back around. Let's get back to the matchups. We were halfway into the wide receiver matchup. We'll take a look at the Kentucky side of it, but we do have 372 people watching live. The last I heard, we were a little under 200 likes. There it is. There's Scott Bennett with the update. He's the like watcher, always keeping track for us. We're 14 away from 200, so smash that thumbs up. Get it up there. There's almost 400 people in here. Why don't we have 200 likes? Like, do you hate us? Like, are you just watching to wait and attack us in the comment section? If you like what we do, hit the thumbs up. It's quick, free, and easy. I get it. Some of you guys have your headphones in at work and you can't hit that like button because your phone's hidden under the desk and nobody knows what's going on. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this bonus edition, the Morning Show 2.0, I called it this morning. But do make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Fido says, here's another 5. Might as well play the clip. Longtime listener, and I love you guys. Fido's donated $50 easily with all those super chats, so why not? We'll play the clip for Fido.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
We'll give him just the one. We won't give him the bonus laugh. We'll just give him the one clip. But we'll play the clip. We appreciate it, Fido. You're being very generous today, my man. Thank you guys for hanging out. Let's jump back into this and talk about Kentucky's side of the ball. We all know Tennessee's weakness on defense is the secondary. When you look at Kentucky's offense, they put up 260 yards a game through the air, 113 on the ground. And we'll get into the running game in just a second. We'll get into that in just a second, but that's why I just don't see it. I don't see people, kind of digging into this run game and saying that Kentucky's going to run the football. They're going to be committed to, and I get it. I understand that Rodriguez was out the first 4 games of the year. He's got 400 yards, averages 5.5 a carry, 3 touchdowns. But I just don't think, I don't see it. But I'm getting sidetracked. Back to the wide receivers. Kentucky has some talent. They've got some talent at wide receiver. Tavion Robinson, 25 catches. Barryon Brown, 24 catches. The three touchdowns for Robinson, 2 for Brown. They've got some talent. Right. And I think they'll be able to make plays. I do. I think Will Levis will make plays. And somebody in the chat a long time ago said something along the lines of, why do you guys keep acting like we're just going to destroy Kentucky? Kentucky can win this football game. Of course they can. Of course they can win this football game. And I think it is on the back of Will Levis. Does he come out and ball out? Does he play a game like he did last year and it ends up in a shootout down to the wire? That's very possible. Very possible. They've got some talent, and that's Tennessee's weakness. Going back to the defensive line matchup, I think that's the advantage to Tennessee. If they can get pressure on the quarterback, that will impact the game. But wide receiver-wise, they're not as good as Tennessee's wide receivers. Nowhere close, but they do have some talent, and they will make some plays on Saturday. That's my opinion.
Right. Well, and they're not as good as they were last year, and they lost a couple guys at the skill positions out there at wide receiver. So Barryon Brown is a really good player. This could be a really good game for him. If it's not this year, he is going to be a player that we hear a lot of over the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, you do it as a coach. You'd be crazy not to attack team weakness. You don't. Chris Rodriguez, as solid of a running back as he is, you look at the stats, and they are not an incredible running team. So, if you have the stats that you do run-wise, and then you look at Tennessee's run defense, and you say, yeah, that's our game plan, you shouldn't be coaching a football team, probably. You look at Tennessee's secondary and how kind of vulnerable it is. And you look at your wide receivers, and you have Barryon Brown, you have a couple of those guys. Absolutely, that's what you attack. So I think that has to be, at least most of their game plan. So, I mean, I do kind of give the advantage. I give the advantage in that looking at that matchup in a vacuum, or Kentucky's wide receivers against Tennessee's secondary. I give the advantage to Kentucky. Because, I mean, we've seen what our secondary does. I think that we're going to be playing zone again. I just think we are. I think we're going to be handing Kentucky those little passes. But I don't know. I could be wrong because that's what Kentucky wants to do. They want to take the little yards. They want to just drive down the field, take as much clock up as possible. So maybe we do see some man, but I just don't know. I just don't know if our secondary can hold up that way because we don't want this to be the game where Kentucky breaks out the big plays for the first time all season. And we don't want this to be that game. So I give the advantage to Kentucky a little bit because I think they will be able to move the football down the field, but it's about whether they get put in the end zone. Because I think Kentucky, you can gain 5 yards of play all day until you get down in the red zone and you got to get in the end zone. You know what I mean? How do you do that all of a sudden? Then it becomes crunch time. And that's what we saw LSU. LSU wasn't able to do that. They just weren't. That they moved it really well between like the 30 and the 30, the 20 and the 20, and then they couldn't score. So I could see that being the same deal with this Kentucky team because, again, this defense, I know we say it, and it's not even an excuse. It's literally just the truth. This is a bend but don't break defense. This is a give them 5 yards all the way until they get to the 20, and then just stop them and make them kick or make them, get a sack and make them punt. But nevertheless, in a vacuum, I do give the advantage to Kentucky just because our secondary has really yet to prove that even in a zone scenario, even when the game plan is give up a couple yards per pass, that they can go out there and even execute that at times, execute the game plan or make plays. So we'll see, but that's kind of what I'm thinking on that matchup.
Somebody brought up a good point in the chat too, is what defensive backs return this week. Last week you were without Jalen McCullough. You were without Kamal Hadden, Christian Charles. You had the injury to Turnage, which at the time we thought was a concussion, turned out to be some type of a neck injury.
Yep.
But I think Brandon Turnage is going to be back. I think Kamal Hadden could have possibly played last week. But again, that's the beauty of that UT Martin game falling where it was, because you had those guys that could get healthy. Christian Charles, I think, is likely to still be out. I've not seen anything to confirm one way or the other. That's just the way I feel it's going to go. Jalen McCullough, still absolutely no idea. I don't. The university's cleared it, but they're waiting for the legal process to play out, and it is what it is.
I'm not sure. I'm not feeling great about Jalen McCullough for this weekend. I'm not feeling great about Tank. I just don't think he's gonna, because I know he's been around the team and all that, but he has to be in shape. He has to be in the mindset and focused. And even if the process ends on Friday, I just don't think you can put him out there and play in a critical game like this. I think I'm not sure about Christian Charles or Deshaun Rucker, but if I had to guess, I think everyone would be back except Tank and Warren Burrell, obviously, and probably I'm talking about Holtmans now, but I think Pat Garland is still going to be out, but defensive lineman, whatever. But I think Kamal Hadden is going to be back. Deshaun Rucker is going to be back. Brandon Turnage is going to be back. Christian Charles, we'll see. But I think everybody's going to be back except Tank. Maybe Tank will be back. I don't know. But at this point, I'm not feeling great about it.
Me Ugly with a $5 super chat. Thank you. We appreciate that. I think Tennessee tries to send a message to the Dogs this weekend with the scoreboard Vols by 50. I like it. Let's go run it up. Let's go run it up and hang 50 on Kentucky. Fido Productions becomes a member of the channel. He's like, you know what? I've dropped all these super chats. I might as well get those custom Talkin Vols emojis and that big, beautiful power T beside my name. You guys can join the channel. It's a small little financial donation once a month. It's as little as 99 cents. If you want to give more, up to $10, you get access to those emojis. I try to highlight member comments throughout the streams. And you also get to come on the fan call-in shows, and that's where the price range comes in. If you give $10 a month, that makes you elite. If you know, you know. If you're elite, you get the link to come on first for those fan call-in shows. And then we kind of go down to Talkin Vols Gold, then Talkin Vols Faithful, and if we have time, emoji access. But thank you, Fido Productions, for becoming a member. You can join. Hit the join button down below. It's right beside that subscribe button. If you got an Apple product, it won't show up. You have to go to the link that is in the description below. Knoxville Predator catcher for 2. Could Tillman use a medical red shirt? No, because he's going to play the back half of the season. He already played a few games at the start of the season, so there's just no way that would work out. Brad Burnett with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Brad. That's very generous. I'm not going to read this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let somebody else read it.
99% of the people in this world want to be great. Would you agree with that? Yeah, they're called wannabes. 1% work to be great. Drop the mic on that.
I mean, I figured Brad would rather Coach Eckler read the super chat than me. So thank you, Brad, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Bionic Clay for $20. That ain't cheap. Yeah, Gabe, I hope they do try to run against us. Our run D is stout.
I hope that is their game plan.
That's what I keep saying.
If running the ball is their game plan, please. Yeah, especially if I'm going to bet on 10 points, please run the ball, Kentucky, please.
That's what I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I keep listening to all these people in the media talk about it, and I'm like, maybe they just know more about football than I do. Maybe I'm just a complete idiot, and I don't claim to be some expert. But I'm like you, Gabe. I'm like, please try to run the ball. Please run the ball. Please. And please play the clip. The chat is saying. They're saying, Boogie, shut up, and please play the clip, because James Deaton drops a 50 spot. That ain't cheap. We got to play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 million man.
James Deaton says, what's taking the Knox County PD so long? McCullough is innocent. You know, I've talked a lot about this, and with all the stuff that went down with the Alabama player slapping the phone out of the dude's hand and then, putting his hands on the female, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing to see some of these Alabama fans come into the comment section and try to act like they didn't the guy didn't do anything wrong. I just don't understand. And they compare it to McCullough and say, oh, you're upset just because he pushed a girl out of the way because he was scared, but yet your safety is knocking people down steps and knocking teeth out of there. There's a difference. When you step foot in my house, you are now a threat to me. But I don't know. Any comments on that, Gabe, and what's taking Knoxville PD so long?
I mean, I don't know if it's somebody said it's the DA's office, which it could be, just like it's not. They probably pass it along to the court and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the process looks like. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer or a police officer or whoever, or a district attorney. So I'm not sure. We'll see. I know it's just the way the system is. It's just always such garbage. I mean, it was always going to take a little while, but definitely it's taking a lot longer than I think most people would want it to. I mean, everybody believes and knows that Tank is innocent, and it was just weird circumstances around the whole scenario. What the process is of getting those charges dropped, I don't know. I don't know if they actually have to go into court and discuss everything, or if it has to pass through somebody's desk. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but it's just the system and how slow it is, and hopefully it just gets resolved soon. That's all we can hope.
The unfortunate part is so many times, right, we talk about when these kids get into trouble or whatever, they're out at 2 a.m, they're doing something they shouldn't do, and they come across trouble, and it's like nothing good ever happens after midnight. What are you doing out? We're talking about a guy that has kept his nose clean his entire career at Tennessee. He was in his apartment minding his own business, and trouble came up on him. And now the question is, should he have followed the guy out the door? Probably not. But what would you do? Like, that's what I keep saying. What would you do if somebody was standing in your living room that you didn't know, and you're like, what the heck are you doing, man? And then I don't know what was said because it was bleeped out. They come back at you. What are you going to do? You going to stand there and be like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Please see yourself out. No, you're going to freaking react. And you're talking about an alpha male in Jalen McCullough. You're talking about a guy that is wanting to make a living playing a violent sport. It is what it is. It is what it is. We'll see what happens there. Dylan Elam becomes a member of the channel. Thank you, Dylan. We appreciate that support. Dylan's one of those guys. He's been a member before. That's something some of you guys need to pay attention to. It'll unsubscribe you from being a member. So make sure you follow that up every month. But thank you for rejoining. We appreciate that. Ryan Hall for 5. Thank you, Ryan. Side note, how many Auburn transfers are we going to pick up? Not just Auburn. Obviously, you're going to see a ton of Auburn kids enter the portal. But I think this offseason is going to be huge for Tennessee. We talk about momentum in recruiting. You look at the transfer portal. I think Josh Heupel is going to be able to go out and pick up a solid running back, maybe another wide receiver or two, maybe some players on defense. I think this offseason is going to be huge for this coaching staff in the portal, not just with Auburn players.
Don't forget about Texas A&M too. Texas A&M is having a rough time, and they are about to it's getting rough down there. So we're going to see a lot of players. Now, is it still a rule that if you transfer within conference, you have to sit out a year, or did they change that? Can you play immediately if you transfer in conference now? Because that will make a decision. That will make it a lot harder for the guys to choose to play at an SEC school, or for the coach to.
No, if it's your one-time transfer, you can play immediately in conference, right? But if you have to be committed and in by a certain time. I think there's a time frame.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. The transfer rules they vary based on circumstances. So, not entirely sure. But I would love to see. I don't know. I'd love to see us go out and get a bunch of Auburn guys, a bunch of Texas A&M. I mean, Texas A&M has so much talent, and I know that they have some kids getting in trouble or whatever. But I mean, we've seen, like, with Brew got in trouble. He's here. He's fine. He's doing great. He's not had any issues, and he's just putting his head down, working, committing. The thing we know about this staff is they're going to go out and get guys. They're going to go out and get guys that want to play, that want to put their head down and work, and they're going to let people know that they're workmanlike. I know they kind of went away from that a little bit with Lynn J. Dixon because they were so desperate for a running back in the backfield. They went with the troublemaker, but saw how it went. But I think they're going to go out the right guys. Yeah, there's going to be a lot to choose from between A&M and Auburn. Play right away. Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, that settles. Let's go out and steal Auburn and Texas A&M's whole team.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the chat. People are saying C-Line gifted a bunch of memberships, but it didn't show up.
It doesn't show up in
Doesn't show up in
StreamYard.
StreamYard.
They did gift five memberships.
Awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that, C-Line. Yeah, it doesn't show, the gifted memberships don't show up, and like I'm looking at my phone right now, and I can see Dakota's member chat. It doesn't show up member chats in StreamYard either. So I don't know what the deal is with that. The chat's confirming, and I just Googled it. There is no more restriction to transfer within the SEC. So you can transfer and play immediately. They eliminated that last year. Let's see here. Yeah, we got Ryan's super chat. Here's $10 from Redneck Dwarf. Thank you for the $10. Number 8, run defense. Please try to run the football. Let's kind of the last position group we'll get into, and that's the running game, the running matchup. Again, Kentucky gives up 117 yards per game on the ground. Tennessee only giving up 90.9 yards per game on the ground. Just ridiculous run defense. Offensively, Kentucky runs the football for 113 yards a game. Tennessee 202 yards. So people talking about, they look at this Tennessee offense and they think it's the air raid, and all Tennessee does is throw the football around. They almost have doubled up the rushing yardage of Kentucky, and it's like, well, let's look and see who they've played. Well, they played 4 ranked opponents. So I think the competition, they played Alabama. We've seen this football team. They don't just throw it. They like to run the ball. They mix it up. We talked about the matchups earlier. If Kentucky wants to drop 8, guess what? Hendon Hooker and these running backs are going to run it down their throat. Tennessee, I like Tennessee's ability to run the football better than Kentucky. Wayne said in the chat earlier, it's not about Rodriguez for Kentucky. It's about their offensive line's inability to run block. And Rodriguez, again, I mentioned it earlier, averages 5.5 yards per carry. He missed the first 4 games of the season, has 400 yards. But still, that's not that impressive. Like, that's not that impressive. I think he's played in 4 games. I just don't. I like Tennessee's ability to stop the run. And again, I guess you and I, Gabe, will disagree with everybody else in the media, and we'll sit here and say Tennessee's going to stop the run on Saturday.
Yeah, I completely think that. I mean, I just don't think I don't think Kentucky has a chance to run very much on Tennessee, and I don't think they have very much of a chance to stop Tennessee's run. Especially if they play, Kentucky's defensive strategy is not going to be stop the run. It's going to be stop the pass, stop the explosive plays. So I think, whether they play 3 or 4 down linemen, I mean, Tennessee is going to be able to run all over Kentucky. Again, like Kentucky's running backs, they're just not. They're against this running game. It's not going to work. So they might pick up a couple first downs. But I mean, the advantage has to go to Tennessee on both sides, and not necessarily the advantage offensively for Tennessee isn't necessarily even because the running backs are that insane, or the defensive line for Kentucky is bad. It's just scheme. It's just the fact that Kentucky isn't going to be able to play the run, and they know that if they do play the run, they're going to get the top taken off of them. They're just going to get scored all over. So they're going to let Tennessee break off those runs. The question is will these running backs be able to take advantage? Because there's been some times where, again, throughout this season, there's been some times that whether it's Jabari or Jalen Wright, they've been just one broken arm tackle away from taking it in. So from busting the big one. So like to see Jabari Small had a great game last year against Kentucky. Love to see that continue, and I'd love to see him have a big game. Jalen Wright, running hard and angry. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, God, it's just you have a scheme advantage on offense, and then you do just have a personnel advantage on defense. This defensive line is extremely stiff, and while Kentucky has a couple good running backs, it's just not going to be. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Tennessee, when we talk about transfer portal, they really need to find an elite running back. That's the one thing, and I'm not disrespecting Jabari Small. I guess I am disrespecting Jabari Small and Jalen Wright. But look at the difference when Tyon Evans was at Tennessee. If he had been here another year, I think he would have had a huge game or a huge season at Tennessee. They really need to hit the portal and find an elite running back. And I don't know what it is. Even in recruiting, I don't think they've been able to land that game changer type of running back. And we'll see what happens with the Stallings kid. There's also a kid that's committed to Kentucky that Tennessee's still in pursuit of that could possibly end up decommitting and coming to Tennessee. So we'll watch that as well. But the run game for Tennessee, I say it all the time. It's Hendon Hooker. That's what opens up the run game. He's less than 100 yards. Less than 100 yards away from being Tennessee's leading rusher.
Right.
Like, that tells you how and that's, again, when he doesn't really get involved in the run game against the Ball States and the Akrons. You don't see that full offensive, because you want to keep him healthy. Obviously, that's right. Why they go that route. But Tennessee, I think they're going to be able to do whatever they want on offense, and I like them to stop Kentucky's run game on Saturday as well. Fido with another 2 says, we want Walter Nolan. I don't know, man. I really wanted that kid going into it. But it's kind of like a deal now. Does he want to play for Rodney Garner? Is he tough enough to play for Rodney Garner? I don't know. I don't know if he is or not.
On the running back subject, I think the main complaint with the running back core we have now is the lack of explosiveness, right? Like Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Jabari Small and Jalen Wright can't break through the line and run all the way down the field without getting run down. They just don't have that elite speed like Tyon Evans did. The thing about the kind of hard to swallow pill about that is that Tennessee, in this offense, Tennessee doesn't need a home run running back. They need the Jabari Smalls, and they need the Jalen Wrights to pick up that physical 5 yards, that physical 6 yards, and draw the defense down to open up the passing game. That is this offense's run game. So while I would love, obviously we want an elite running back anyway, because if a running back can do it all, that's all the better for this offense. But, we don't necessarily need a guy with that home run speed. I think Dylan Sampson is supposed to have that home run speed, but who was it? Was it UT Martin that he broke out a big run and then got run down?
That shocked me.
That shocked me too. I was like, I thought this guy, because he's still, he's pretty fast, but his game speed, he did not look that. He's faster than me, obviously. I
wonder if it was effort. Because I remember that moment specifically too, and I was thinking, how is this kid that's supposed to have game-changing speed getting caught from behind by UT Martin? I still think he's going to be a special kid. I think he's going to be a football player. But you need more than one. You got to have more than one in the SEC. Justin Williams-Thomas, yeah.
Justin Williams-Thomas is going to be a good running back as well. It's just he happens to be the 4th string right now, so he doesn't get a lot of run. I think Justin Williams-Thomas doesn't play maybe as hard as he could when he gets in the game, but obviously that's going to be something we see change once the other guys get out of here. I would, Cooper Mays. I would not want to race any of those offensive linemen. Javonte Spraggins is faster than me probably. So that's those guys are athletes. I couldn't. Oh, am I lagging?
Yeah, it roboted out. I thought you'd stop talking. It roboted out.
That was a big lag spot. I don't know what's going on with my internet. My internet's normally like perfectly fine, but today it's really struggling for some reason. Sorry, but these guys are starters in the SEC. I couldn't start in D3 probably. So, but yeah, all that just to say that Tennessee would love to have that home run running back, but in this current offense, they don't need it. They just need the guys to get the physical few yards and open up that run game.
I'm laughing because I was getting ready to wrap the show. Like I was getting ready to feed into your prediction and wrap the show. And I made a comment at the beginning of the show and said, if you guys are generous with Super Chats and keep throwing money, we'll stay live. And you guys keep throwing Super Chats, so we're going to stay live. Look, you guys, the way you support this channel blows my mind. So we'll change gears here, and if you guys keep being supportive, we'll take a look around the SEC at some games coming up on Saturday. Fido Productions for 5. We need elite corners. Also losing a lot of on the O-line after this year, so need to replenish.
I will say, Ricky Gibson, our 4-star cornerback commit in the class of 2023. has not allowed a completion all season long so far in his senior season. Not allowed a single completion. So that is that Ricky Gibson is a guy that has been rising since he committed to Tennessee. I am excited about him because he is going to be a good corner. Obviously, we just got Caleb Beasley. I know that's a couple years in the future, but this staff is getting guys. They are getting guys that are going to be really good for the secondary.
Look at Jordan Matthews in the class of 23, and
then
even Christian Conyers. They've got some talent. The problem is
Smith.
It's why you have to stack recruiting classes, because it's so hard to count on a freshman to come in and contribute. But I think you may see a guy like Jordan Matthews and Gibson both be asked to step up and rise to the occasion early. But they're getting some talent. That's why keep doing the Tony Vitello approach, the Rick Barnes approach. Keep doing more with less and keep adding those commits. And then the sky's the limit for how good this football team can be. Trey Elder for 2. Thank you for Super Chat. Doesn't say anything. Just he's putting his offering in the offering plate just like everybody else. We appreciate that Super Chat, Trey. Dakota for 5. Thank you for the Super Chat, Dakota. Do you think Texas A&M will have a lot of transfer portal entries? I do. And people talk about Jimbo Fisher and him getting fired. I don't think he's going to get fired. I think they're going to ride him and destroy that program. But money talks. We all know how they ended up with that number 1 recruiting class. Money talks. James Deaton with another $50. That ain't cheap. Thank you, James. We'll play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 million man.
James Deaton dropping the big ones today. We appreciate the tips. James, watching Walter Nolan when he's in looks fat and slow. He had his shot. See, that's where I'm at when it comes to Walter Nolan. And I heard that a lot about him in high school. Like, number 1 player in the country, but a lot of people said he was lazy and he couldn't even stay in for a full series because he was out of shape. And I know, like I said, money talks. A&M, we know how they built that recruiting class, regardless of what Jimbo Fisher says and Nick Saban says. We know how you build recruiting classes. At least we're man enough to accept it here. It's like, cool, we'll pay players. I'll pay referees. I'll pay anybody if we get to win football games. I don't care. I'll sit here and laugh all the way to the bank celebrating. So it is what it is. But I've heard that about Walter Nolan, and I know the money was involved, but I truly honestly wonder if he just didn't want to play for Rodney Garner, because Rodney Garner does not put up with that crap. Like he is hard edged and he will not tolerate it. And I wonder if that kind of went into Walter Nolan's decision a little bit too.
It's possible. I mean, as a young kid, I mean, if you don't have that chip on your shoulder, you're going to be looking for the easy way out. So Not saying that's necessarily the case. I never want to accuse a D1 college football player of not having a good work ethic. But, these guys on Tennessee's team, you can say for sure are guys that the coaches make fully aware they're going to have to work for it. They're going to do what they are told to do. They're going to work hard, get in shape, and play hard and fast. So, but, yeah, I mean, who knows what's going on there, but it's entirely possible. He just didn't want to come in and put the effort. So,
Dakota for 2 says Texas A&M. Easy for me to say. Texas A&M will burn down before they fire Jimbo. I agree, Dakota. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think they're going to ride it till the wheels fall off.
That's kind of what I said on Tuesday, where it's sort of like an NFL scenario where they're paying Jimbo so much they'll let the entire program fall apart before they touch Jimbo, because they can't pay that buyout. They could, but it's a stupid amount of money they would have to pay him. So yeah, they're going to ride with Jimbo no matter what else happens to the program. They are going to they're going to ride with him until the program falls apart for sure.
Seth for 5, thank you for Super Chat. Sorry guys, just found out my YouTube notifications were turned off the last few days. How we doing? Well, not very good, Seth, because I was disappointed. I was looking for you in the chat, and you don't have your YouTube notifications on. Just kidding, man. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for the tip. Having a good time. The Morning Show 2.0. We were going to do an hour We're an hour and a half in, but I made you guys a promise. You guys are showing up, showing out, showing love, dropping those super chats, smashing that thumbs up. Let's get some more memberships rolling in here. I see a lot of guys in the chat without that Power T emoji beside their name. Join the channel. Perks and benefits. I try to highlight your comments throughout the streams as well. But if not, you don't have to join. Just hang out, and we will talk some Tennessee football. I want to look around the SEC. This is something we can talk about before we get Gabe's official prediction for the Tennessee-Kentucky game. There are other games in the SEC. Anything you're excited about this week? We got Arkansas and Auburn kicking things off at noon. That Arkansas team, man, I really am kind of surprised. I thought they were going to be a better football team than they've been. And old Cold Beer, I like him. I think he's a good coach, but disappointing. Auburn 3-4. That Harson's on the way out the door. That program is a dumpster fire. That's why everybody's talking about the portal.
I think that's the exact right word for Arkansas is disappointing. They were expected to be the team to challenge Alabama for the West this year, and they have very much not done that. And they have dropped some things that they have not they should not have dropped, and they have had a disappointing season. Although it's not over, obviously the West is out of their hands. It's not happening anymore. They can still finish strong. I mean, Auburn. Well, I mean, what can you even say about Auburn? They're just not great. They've shown some fight at times. Auburn has, but I mean, other than that, nothing much. They're like I said, another dumpster fire. Got players transferring out. Arkansas, I think, is going to take that one though, just because they're a little bit more put together than Auburn.
BG in the chat says that Georgia-Florida game is big for us. Yeah, that's a big one. That's your 3:30 CBS game. Yeah, Georgia's going to come out and beat the brakes off of Florida. It's people out there talking upset, but on the flip side, this game is very similar to what Tennessee's going into this week. Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida. People saying Tennessee's looking at Georgia. You don't think Georgia's looking at Tennessee? They see that game coming up on the schedule. Can Richardson make some plays? I don't see it. I don't see it, but it's still going to be watching that game on Saturday.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be watching this game because I'm excited to see what. I mean, if Florida goes out there and plays offensively the game that they could, if Georgia pulls a Kent State or a Missouri type effort, Florida can go out there and beat the Dogs. I'm telling you, that is a trap game for Georgia. I mean, well, I guess you could call it a trap game. I guess they're at that level. I mean, it's an SEC East rivalry game, so it's a good game. But Georgia's got to be careful, and Georgia might go out there and win 50-7. I don't know, but it might be a lot closer than some people are. The last time I checked a couple days ago, Georgia was favored by like 22 points. So that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. There's no way they're favoring that Georgia team by 22 points over Florida. But we'll see. I'm excited about that one. That's something we all need to watch out for. Because if Florida beats Georgia, and then, well, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But that's going to be an exciting game. I still think Georgia's going to win. But I don't know. This might end up being a very entertaining game because Florida is a team that when they put it together, they can be dangerous. So
Georgia favored by 22. Tennessee favored by 12.5, 13, something like that now over Kentucky. Let's say they both take care of business. Georgia goes and beats Florida. Tennessee takes care of Kentucky. We roll in next week. The college football playoff poll, whatever it's called, ranking system comes out. Georgia number 1, Tennessee number 2 on the road between the hedges. What do you think the line's going to be on that game? I think they're going to favor Georgia by 2 scores at least.
Actually the line is already out on Georgia and Tennessee. I believe the last time I checked, let me just look here real fast. 13.5 is where it's sitting right now. Georgia is favored by 13.5 points over Tennessee at the moment. We'll see how this weekend plays out. I mean, 13.5. That's I know Georgia is Georgia and Tennessee is. I mean, 13.5 points. That's kind of disrespectful. In my opinion, but not entirely unexpected either. So like you said, it's kind of not surprising. That's for sure.
Yeah, I thought 10 to 14 somewhere around there is what I thought. So I don't know, and I didn't know it was out yet. Number one, Sunshine Vol. Is it called the game of the century?
I don't know.
Dude, they are going to hype that game up so much. It's going to be huge.
It's going to be a very hyped up game. It's going to be a big game. But I almost don't even know if it's as hyped up as Tennessee-Bama, because Tennessee-Bama is a much more storied rivalry, and the way things had played out with Tennessee not beating Bama in 15 years and all that, it was just so massive that number 6 Tennessee was playing number 3 Alabama. So it is going to be a huge game, and it's going to be hyped up, of course, because it's a massive game. But I don't know if it's going to be as like media, like storyline as Tennessee-Alabama.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a rivalry, but still, you got number 1 and number 2. They're going to be hyping it up. Cody Branch for 2. Thank you for Super Chat. Tennessee is going to kill the House Cats, 62-21. I'll take that score all day long, Cody. Sammy P for 2. Tank to the portal.
Nope. No way. Tank
Bigsby, I think, is who he's talking about, because we were talking
Tank
about
Bigsby.
Auburn. Yeah, we were talking about Auburn. I could see that 1,000-yard rusher in 2021.
I think Tank Bigsby is a Tennessee type running back too. He's just that kind of tough he's like a tough physical guy that has some speed and can make some explosive plays. So personally, I don't think unless it just falls apart and we have like a mass exodus out of Auburn. I don't think he's gonna leave, but it's absolutely possible.
I remember he went in the portal last year and then went back to Auburn. I thought for sure, man, Tennessee would have a shot when he entered the portal, but right back to Auburn. Fido Productions for 5, 13.5 is crazy. Do we see their offense scoring over 45 points? That's what our Vols will score. I think if Tennessee scores 45 points, they win the game.
Yeah, I don't think not that Georgia isn't capable of scoring 45 points, because they are. I just don't know if they do. I don't know if they do. Especially, I mean, if Georgia makes any of their offensive mistakes that they've kind of been a little prone to this season in some games, then, I mean, if Tennessee scores 45, it's going to be hard for Georgia to keep up with that, I think. And I know those are big words, but, I mean, Georgia's a great team, but offensively, I'm not sure if they can score 45 on I mean, we say that, and then they destroyed Oregon. What was it, like 47 to or 42? Was it 42-7 or was it 47 to something?
I can't remember the score, but it was a beat down. And Oregon's kind of fought back, and they're still what are they ranked in the top 15?
I think they're top 15. Or maybe I don't think they're 10, are they? I'm not sure, but yeah. So I don't know. It's we'll see. But I think Tennessee, if they score 45, we're looking pretty good.
4:00 game, South Carolina versus Missouri. I hope South Carolina wins this freaking game. I do. I hope they win. And I hate South Carolina, and I hate their fan base. They get on my nerves. They're so annoying. They remind me of Georgia with way less history, like Georgia fans before they won the national championship. You know what I mean? Like they weren't doing anything, but even still, Georgia had way more tradition than South Carolina. South Carolina fans act like they are the top of the mountain, and it's a joke, and their coach is a freaking joke. Shane Beamer is embarrassing. He is a clown. He's Butch Jones 2.0. I was so scared of South Carolina going into the year. Now I don't care. I don't fear them. Now I've got other people in the chat saying they're scared of South Carolina, and I'm like, they suck. Bring them on. Vols are going to boat race them.
Let South Carolina stay hyped. Let them stay hyped. They're getting humbled. They're getting humbled at some point. Even if they win out until Tennessee, I don't care, man. Let them get humbled by Tennessee, because they will, dude. South Carolina, I mean, say what you want, they are not very good.
Tom sums it up right there. Tom sums it all up right there. Georgia's attitude with Vandy's trophy case. 100%.
There you go. They'll be in the Music City Bowl.
Here's a quick super chat from, I never know how to read your names. AGR270. Sounds like a droid on Star Wars. For $2, thank you for the super chat. Vols by 50. I'll take it all day. Take it all the way to the bank. Appreciate the super chat, my man. Thank you for the tip in the old tip jar. Missouri, South Carolina. You want South Carolina to win, so they come in hyped. I want them to win. Keep them ranked, and that just builds the resume as well. Missouri, I just see the Missouri South Carolina games going the same way as last year. Like, look at those two football teams, Missouri and South Carolina. Do you think they're any better than they were last year? Maybe South Carolina's a little bit better, but look at the scores from last year. Tennessee's a whole lot better than they were last year. I believe in Josh Heupel, man. I believe in Josh Heupel.
Yeah, all I see when I see Missouri and South Carolina is just like two freaking piles of crap being thrown at each other.
The Nobody Cares Bowl. That's what is taking place at 4 o'clock. Of course, you got Tennessee game at 7. Ole Miss, Texas A&M at 7:30. You know, people kind of jumped on me when I made the video and said that Ole Miss wasn't going to the SEC championship, and they're saying, Boogie, there's still this can happen and that can happen. I understand that they can still technically go. I just don't see it happening at this point. This game, as big of a joke as Jimbo Fisher is down there at Texas A&M, I could totally see Texas A&M going and beating Ole Miss. That's the way that Texas A&M team is. I could totally see it. Look at them, at the way they played Alabama.
Yeah, they're at home as well, so that has to help a little bit. But I don't know. I could see that happening. Funny, crazier things have happened, you know. But how funny would that be? Because it's like there's a program I'm trying to think of. Their coach is sort of like on the hot seat, but it's like a program that has like a coach on the hot seat and they suck, but then they win like one decent game and that holds over. That could be this game. I could absolutely see that. But I mean, realistically, Ole Miss is gonna boat race Texas A&M, but we'll see. The Texas A&M might make it more difficult than we think. So
I thought that'd be fun to kind of go around, look at the SEC, see what games we're going to be watching, talking about this week. We are going to wrap this thing up here in just a moment. Going to get Gabe's prediction real quick. We got almost 400 people watching. That's amazing for a bonus Thursday morning stream that wasn't even really advertised. We just decided to do it. I think yesterday we put it out there. So thank you guys for showing up and showing out and showing love on this Thursday morning. I don't know that I'll drop a video later today. I might. It just depends on timing. Got a lot of stuff I got to get done this afternoon, this evening. So we'll see what goes on there. Tomorrow we'll definitely be dropping a video. Saturday, we're going to do a tailgate show an hour before kickoff, 6 o'clock. Come hang out, fan call-in show. All you members of the channel have an opportunity to come on. And we're going to have some fun stuff to talk about because that Florida-Georgia game could still be going on technically. We'll see. So that'll be fun to talk about. That's the thing, man. When I advertised the tailgate shows, that's exactly what it is. It's like being at a tailgate. Grab a drink, crack it open, hang out. We may talk about the Georgia and Florida game. We may talk about Tennessee, Kentucky. We'll talk about whatever you guys want, and then obviously we'll be live immediately after the game. But make sure you guys do hit the thumbs up on the way out the door. We would appreciate it. Gabe, take us home. Give us your prediction. What's your score prediction coming up Saturday, Tennessee, Kentucky? Dark mode.
All right. Well, I have to take for the YouTube. I have to take the 10-point bet. But
That's amazing.
I have a couple of scopes here. If Tennessee comes out and plays the game, I think they can. If they take advantage of their matchups and they execute on every level, like we've seen them do at points this season, I think we're looking at sort of a 41-10 scenario. I think Kentucky just isn't going to be able to get in the end zone. I think Tennessee is just going to play lockdown defense. And I don't think Tennessee is going to feel the necessity to go fast if Kentucky can't stop the run. So I don't think this is a game where Tennessee just runs up the score like crazy, even if Kentucky doesn't play that well, because I think at the end of the day, Kentucky is going to be able to hold the ball a little bit. I don't think they're just going to be able to go from the 1 yard line to the other 1 yard line, take 12 minutes off the clock. But I don't think this is like a 50-plus point game for Tennessee. But if Tennessee comes out and executes, I think it is a 41-10 type game. If Tennessee keeps it close, if they let Kentucky dictate some tempo, they aren't able to get off the field on third down. They're able to drive. They're able to they let Kentucky get in the end zone a few times. It's just gonna Tennessee's offense is gonna be able to score either way, right? But they're gonna have a little bit less opportunity and a little bit less time. I think we're looking at maybe more of a 37-27 if Tennessee does not come out and play the way they should, if Kentucky gives them trouble or Tennessee shoots themselves in the foot. But for the sake of the YouTube and the bet with Dauber, I'm going with 41-10 Tennessee over Kentucky Saturday, 7 p.m.
Love it. I love it. We're right around the corner from kickoff. Going to be a great atmosphere in Neyland Stadium. Once again, can't wait to watch the game. We're going to wrap this thing up. Make sure you guys smash the thumbs up on the way out the door. Leave a comment after we go off air. Leave your score prediction in the comments below. But I'm going to send you guys out of here the same way we brought you in, and that is the dark version of Rocky Top. He's Gabe. I'm Boogie. Go Big Orange.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top, down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoky smoke on Rocky Top. Ain't no telephone bills. You'll always be home sweet home to me. Rocky Top.